Hello students, I am Sai Baba here. So I was discussing the solutions for the assignment in first set of assignment questions in the assignment and expansions of solids and liquids. So I have already discussed the solutions for the questions 1 to 25. So in this class I would like to complete the discussion of the solutions of the remaining 5 questions in the assignment, and in continuation I may discuss some other problems or concept. Come on, look at the question number 26 on the screen. I am going to read the question number 26 now. A linear accelerator consists of 100 brass discs tightly fitted into a steel tube. 40 degrees centigrade, the diameter of each disc is 10.02 centimeters. The system is assembled by cooling the disc in dry ice at -6 degrees centigrade to enable them to slide into a closed fitting tube. The coefficient of expansion of brass to 2 in 10 power minus 5 per degree centigrade. Diameter of each disc in dry ice will be. So, the length or perimeter of the disc is proportional to the diameter. So, final length L dash or perimeter of each disc is equal to initial length into 1 plus alpha for material of the disc into change in temperature. And here L is the length or perimeter of the disc at the temperature T. L dash is the length or perimeter at the higher temperature. Because length you can write pi into perimeter, or length can be written pi times the diameter. The final length L dash is equal to pi times the final diameter D dash. So pi gets cancelled. So original diameter at the first temperature T is 40 degrees centigrade here, and D is 10.02 centimeter, and T dash equal to T is 40 degrees centigrade, and T dash is minus 60 degrees centigrade. And alpha for the material of this, that is brass 2 in 10 power minus 5. So substituting these values here, D dash you can write 10.02 centimeters multiplied by 1 plus alpha is 2 into 10 power minus 5 per degree centigrade to T dash minus T. That will be minus 60 degrees centigrade minus of 40 degrees centigrade. So here T dash minus T is minus 60 degrees centigrade minus of 40 degrees centigrade. Or T dash minus T can write minus 100 degrees centigrade. So you can substitute that T dash minus T equal to minus 100 degrees centigrade. So that comes out to be 10.02 minus 2 into 10 power minus 3. So this you can simplify it further. So 10.02 minus 2 into 10.02 into 10 power minus 3. This is, those who want to copy the solution of the problem, please take a pause and complete the solution of the problem. You can try to simplify it yourself. So if you want to copy the simplification also, you can copy down the simplification. So it is very close to 10 centimeters. So those who want to copy the working, they can take a pause and copy the working. So look at the next question, question number 27. At 40 degrees centigrade, a brass rod has a length of 50 centimeter and diameter 3 millimeter. It is joined to a steel rod of the same length and diameter at the same temperature. What is the change in the length of the composite rod when it is heated to 240 degrees centigrade? The coefficients of linear expansion of brass and steel are 2 into 10 power minus 5 per degree centigrade and 1.2 into 10 power minus 5 per degree centigrade respectively. So change in the length of the composite rod is equal to change in the length of the brass rod plus change in the length of steel rod. Delta L subscript B represent the change in the length of the brass rod. Delta L subscript S represent the change in the length of steel rod. And delta L on the left side represent the change in the length for the combination. So change in the length or increase in length is equal to alpha into original length into change in temperature. So original length of each rod is same and temperature of each rod is changed by the same amount. So alpha B is the coefficient of linear expansion for brass. So change in the length of steel rod is equal to coefficient of linear expansion of steel into original length of steel rod into change in temperature. So change in the length of the combination, if you take L delta T common, alpha for brass plus alpha for steel into L delta T. So alpha for brass is given to be 2 in 10 power minus 5 per degree centigrade. Alpha for steel is 1.2 into 10 power minus 5 per degree centigrade. You can take 10 power minus 5 per degree centigrade common. The original length of each rod is 50 centimeters. And increase in the temperature delta T is equal to final temperature 240 degrees centigrade minus initial temperature, that is 40 degrees centigrade. That will be 200 degrees centigrade. So this you can try to simplify it further. Those who want to copy the solution of the problem, they can take a pause and copy the solution of the problem. So you get answer as 0.32 centimeters. So for question number 27, third option is answer. So look at the next question, question number 28. So this problem was originally given in the 2006 MSET exam engineering paper. And I have discussed a special case related to this problem. This problem comes under special case 10. The list of the special cases which are discussed in the past in the theory part before I have shown you the assignment. Come on, look at this question once. Two rods of different materials and identical cross-sectional area are joined face to face at one end, and their free ends are fixed to the rigid walls. The temperature of surroundings is increased by 30 degrees centigrade. The magnitude of the displacement of joint of the rods is the length of the rods L1 L equal to L2 equal to 1 unit, ratio of their lengths moduli y1 by y2 equal to coefficient of linear expansion of alpha 1 and alpha 2. So I have discussed with one result here based on in special case number 10. So I am going to use this conclusion directly. Suppose if you have a two rods of same area of cross section, same vertical length L, are joined face to face, and the combination is fixed between two rigid walls. One end of each rod is fixed to a rigid wall. If L is the length of each rod, alpha 1 and alpha 2 denote the coefficients of linear expansion of materials of two rods. Y1 and Y2 denote the Young's moduli of materials of two rods, and if the two rods are initially with negligible tension just start, then the temperature of system changes by an amount delta T, then magnitude of the displacement of the junction or mod of delta L for each rod is given by mod of Y1 alpha 1 minus Y2 alpha 2 into L delta T divided by Y1 plus Y2. So here Y1 by Y2 is given to be 2. So Y1 you can write 2Y2. And both numerator and denominator. And L1 and L2 are original length of each rod is same, that is denoted by L equal to 1 unit here. Delta T is the increase in temperature, that is 30 degrees centigrade. By Y1 you can substitute again 2Y2 in the denominator also. So you can take Y2 common in numerator. Denominator get 3Y2. So Y2 gets cancelled. So magnitude of the displacement of the junction between the two rods will be equal to 10 into 2 alpha 1 minus alpha 2. The derivation of this conclusion I have discussed in the special cases before showing you this assignment in expansion of solids. Those who want to copy the solution of the problem, they can take a pause and copy the solution of the problem. So for question number 28, which I just discussed here, so third option will be the answer. Then look at the next question here, question number 29. The temperature of a thin uniform circular disc of 1 meter diameter is increased by 10 degrees centigrade. The percentage increase in moment of inertia of the disc about an axis passing through its center, perpendicular to circular faces. Linear expansion. Linear coefficient of expansion 11 in 10 power minus 6 per degree centigrade. As I discussed earlier, the percentage increase in the moment of inertia whenever uniform regular solid, like a uniform circular disc or sphere is heated uniformly, then percentage increase in its moment of inertia will be 2 times the percentage increase in the linear dimensions, or we can say percentage increase in moment of inertia is same as the percentage increase in area, because moment of inertia of a circular disc, mass m and radius r is given by mr square by 2. The surface area of circular disc is given by pi r square. Therefore, if you write I by A here, you get m by 2 pi, which is a constant, which does not vary with the temperature. So mass of the disk will not vary with variation of temperature here. And 2 pi the constant. Therefore, the surface area of the disk is proportional to the moment of inertia. So percentage change in the moment of inertia same as the percentage change in the area. Percentage change in the moment of inertia can write delta I by I into 100%. That you can write delta A by A into 100%. Delta I is the increase in the moment of inertia. I is the original value of the moment of inertia of the disk. Delta A is the original area of cross section. Delta A is the increase in surface area. Now, coefficient of aerial expansion beta. So, by delta A by A into delta T. Delta T is the increase in temperature. So, delta A by A can be written as beta into delta T. So, percentage increase in the moment of inertia of the rod. So you can write 2 alpha into delta T to 100%. That is percentage increase in the moment of inertia of uniform rod, or for the same formula applies even for percentage increase for uniform circular disc about an axis of symmetry, or percentage increase in the moment of inertia uniform solid sphere also can write similar way, is equal to 2 times the percentage increase in the linear dimensions, or 2 alpha delta T to 100%. So in the given problem, alpha is given to 11 into 10 power minus 6 per degree centigrade, and increase in temperature is 10 degree centigrade. So this will be 22 into 10 power minus 3%, or 0.022% is the answer. So those who want to copy the solution of the problem, please take a pause and copy the solution of the problem. So for question number 29, which I just discussed now, third option will be the answer. Look at the next question. Question number 30. A bimetallic strip. This question was given one of the previous All India Institute of Medical Sciences exam. I think it was given in 2005 or one exam later after that. So this question is based on the bimetallic strip which I discussed earlier. So look at the question number 30. A bimetallic strip consists of metals X and Y. It is mounted rigidly at the base as shown. The metal X has greater coefficient of linear expansion compared to that for metal Y. So when the bimetallic strip is placed in a cooled bath, so here it is placed in a cold bath, that means cooled. As I told you, when here coefficient of linear expansion for material for X is more than the coefficient of linear expansion for Y. So when cooled, as I discussed earlier, the bimetallic strip will bend with the metal having greater coefficient of linear expansion on the concave side. So alpha for metal X is more than alpha, or coefficient of linear expansion for metal Y. So therefore X will be, as I discussed in the past, when bimetallic strip in the normal state is heated, then it will bend with the metal having greater coefficient of linear expansion on the convex side. But when a bimetallic strip is cooled, the metal will bend with the metal having greater coefficient of linear expansion on the concave side. So it will bend somewhat, something like this. I have shown roughly on the figure on the right side. Therefore, the metal strip will bend towards right. So for question number 30, first option is answer. So with this, I have completed discussion of all the questions in the first assignment in expansion of solids and liquids. So before I show you the next part of this, second part of the assignment in expansion of solids and liquids, the numbering with questions numbering 31 to 60, I would like to first discuss some theoretical concepts related to the expansion of solids and liquids. So at first I am going to discuss about the variation of density of a substance with increase in temperature, assuming that the quotient of volume expansion of the material to be constant for the given variation in temperature. The discussion which I am going to do now is applicable not only for solids, it is also applicable even for liquids. So those who have finished writing this, you can stop writing, just concentrate to listen to my explanation. You need not write running notes when I am discussing the subject. I will show you the systematic PowerPoint presentation of the conclusions and notes in my next class. So now you just concentrate to listen to my discussion. Now see, now I am going to discuss about variation of density of a substance with temperature. This discussion is applicable both for solids as well as for liquids. So when a given mass of a solid or liquid is heated, its volume changes, but mass remains same. In the non-relativistic case, the mass of substance can be assumed to be constant in spite of some supply of some heat energy to substance. So when given mass of solid or liquid is heated, the mass of the body can be assumed to be constant, and when temperature changes, volume changes. If volume changes, mass remains same, density also changes. So the density of a substance can be written as mass of the substance by volume of substance, excluding some exceptional cases, excluding in some of the exceptional cases. In most cases, volume increases with increase in temperature. The volume of solid or liquid, given mass of solid or liquid, increases with increase in temperature, most cases. But mass of substance remaining same if volume increases. That means the volume of a given mass, for given mass of the substance, the volume of substance increases with increase in temperature. Therefore, density of a solid or liquid decreases with increase in temperature in most cases. So, to find the relation between the density at a higher temperature with the density at lower temperature, I use the fact that the mass of substance is same. So for a given mass, for same mass m of the given material, if V1 is the volume at one temperature T1 and D1 is the density, can use D or rho to denote density. Any one of the letters. At temperature T1. And V2 is the volume of same mass of substance at higher temperature T2, and D2 is the density at temperature T2. So mass of the substance at temperature T1 can be written as V1 D1. Mass of the substance at temperature T2 can write V2 D2. Here V1 is the volume of the substance at temperature T1, which may be expressed in centigrade, or if you use capital T1, if the temperatures are on Kelvin scale. V2 is the volume of same mass of the substance at a different temperature T2. And D1 is the density of the material substance at the temperature T1. And D2 is the density of the same substance at temperature T2. So, but volume, whether it is a solid or liquid, we can write the final volume V2 at temperature T2 can be written as volume V1 at temperature T1 into 1 plus gamma into T2 minus T1, where gamma is the coefficient of volume expansion of the material of substance. In the case of solid, gamma is the coefficient of cubical expansion, the volume expansion of material of solid. Whereas in the case of liquid, we take gamma as the coefficient of volume expansion of the liquid, means coefficient of absolute coefficient of volume expansion of liquid. Substituting this value V2 on the right side of the first equation, you get V1 D1 equal to V1 into 1 plus gamma into T2 minus T1. This we are substituting in place of V2. V2 into D2 you have on the right side. So V1 can be cancelled both sides. So density of substance at temperature T1 can be written as density at temperature T2 into 1 plus gamma into T2 minus T1. Sometimes the problems we express, in the case of liquids particularly, many examples and experiments related to expansion of liquids, we express density at a higher temperature in terms of density at the initial temperature or 0 degree centigrade. Suppose if D0 is the density at 0 degree centigrade, so here D1 if D1 represents the density of this substance at temperature T1 and D2 is the density of substance at temperature T2, then D1 you can write D2 into 1 plus gamma into T2 minus T1, where gamma is the coefficient of volume expansion. So I have written two equations which are applicable both for solids as well as liquids, that is 1 and 2. Some of the books they denote density by rho, so you can write density at temperature by rho and density at second temperature by rho 2. And instead of centigrade temperatures, you may be given temperatures on Kelvin scale. So temperature on Kelvin scale is denoted by capital letter T. So same equation can also be written in this form: rho 1 equal rho 2 into 1 plus gamma into capital T2 minus capital T1. So capital T1 is the temperature in each, on Kelvin scale, corresponding temperature small t1 on centigrade scale. Capital T is the temperature on Kelvin scale, corresponding temperature small t2 on centigrade scale. So change in the temperature of substance on Kelvin scale is numerically same as change in temperature on centigrade scale. So in some of the problems and experiments based on expansion of liquid, we write that density in terms of density at 0 degree centigrade. Suppose if we take T1 as 0 degree centigrade or capital T1 as 273.15 Kelvin or approximate 273 Kelvin, and density rho 1 means at temperature 0 degree centigrade, density is usually denoted by rho naught or d naught. Density at and second of higher temperature is denoted by small t, expressed in degree centigrade. And this is denoted by T naught, suppose. Capital T1 is denoted by T naught. And corresponding temperature on Kelvin scale is denoted by capital T, 273 plus small t, which may be denoted by capital T. So, density at 0 degree centigrade, density at higher temperature T degree centigrade is denoted by rho subscript capital T or d subscript small t. So, you can write density at 0 degree centigrade is equal to density at T degree centigrade into 1 plus gamma into T minus 0, or rho naught equal to rho T into 1 plus gamma into T minus T naught. Sometimes we use approximated formula in some of the problems, but 1, 2, 3 are exact equations applicable both for solids and liquids. But in some of the problems we use this approximated formula also. To get the approximated formula, I will multiply both sides of the second equation with 1 minus gamma into T2 minus T1. Multiply both sides of the equation with 1 minus gamma into T2 minus T1. So on the right side you get D2 into 1 square minus gamma square into T2 minus T1 whole square. But in most cases, the term containing gamma square will be negligible compared to 1. So this is approximately written as D2 equal to 1 minus D1 into 1 minus 0, or an approximated formula we use D2 is approximately equal to D1 into 1 minus gamma into T2 minus T1. This is true approximately. Our density at T degree centigrade can be approximately written as equal to density at 0 degree centigrade 1 minus gamma T. This is also approximately true. So equations 1, 2, 3 are exactly correct, provided the value of gamma is given to be constant for given range of temperatures. And whereas equations 4 and 5, the 4 is D2 equal to D1 into 1 minus gamma into T2 minus T1. 5 is DT equal to D0 into 1 minus gamma T. These are approximately correct. So 1, 2, 3 equations are which are correct, exact equations when gamma is given to be constant for given variation of temperature. These equations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are applicable both for solids as well as for liquids. So I need not write running notes for whatever I have discussed so far about variation of density with temperature. I will show you the systematic notes for this discussion which I am doing in this class, in my next class with PowerPoint presentation. So next I am going to discuss some special cases in the variation of density. So there will be some problems and questions in the next part of the assignment based on these special cases in variation of density. So it's not compulsory that you have to remember the conclusion of each special case now, but you should understand the discussion or calculation or working which I am explaining in each special case. So in case you are able to remember or recollect the conclusion, sometimes you may be able to save time in answering objective questions at faster. In case you are not confident that you can remember the conclusions of the special cases, then you should be able to work out or do the required calculation related to the special cases from concept at a faster rate. So there are some questions related to both the buoyancy and variation of density with temperature. For example, let us consider a block of mass m floating in a liquid with a fraction of its volume immersed inside the liquid. So the body is floating in equilibrium, net force on the body is 0. Two forces act on the body, one is its weight mg, which is discussed in the fluid dynamics, fluid mechanics. The fluid mechanics or fluid statics, this is discussed. FB represents the magnitude of force of buoyancy or upthrust. So two forces act on the floating body. That is about the body is floating inside the liquid with a part of its volume immersed inside the liquid. That is possible, of course, when the density of the floating body is less than the density of the liquid. Now applying the principle of buoyancy or Markovitch principle. The magnitude of force of buoyancy is equal to weight of the liquid displaced with the body. That is called mass of the liquid displaced into acceleration due to gravity. Mass of the liquid displaced by the body. Can write volume of the liquid displaced by the body to density of the liquid. The volume of the liquid displaced by the body can be written as F into V, where F represents fraction of the volume of the body, fraction of the volume of the solid immersed inside the liquid. For example, in a particular problem, if you are given that 80% of the volume of the body is immersed inside the liquid, that means the volume of the liquid displaced is equal to volume of the immersed part of the solid, or 80% of volume of solid, or we write 0.8 into V, where V is the volume of solid. Here that means in this example F is 0.8. Suppose if another problem you are given that 90% of the volume of the body is immersed below surface of the liquid. That means if you are given that solid floats in the liquid with 90% of volume immersed inside liquid, then volume of the liquid displays, you can write 90% of the volume of the body. Or we write F into V. Here F is 0.9 or 9/10. So F represents the fraction of the volume of the solid immersed inside liquid, and V is the volume of solid. So when the body is floating in equilibrium inside the liquid, then the resultant force on the body is 0. So net force on the body in the upward direction is equal to magnitude of force of buoyancy minus weight of the floating body. That is 0. So magnitude of the force of buoyancy, you can write magnitude of the weight mg. Mass. So magnitude of force of buoyancy, you can write F into V into dl into g from this equation. On the right side, mass of the floating body, you can write volume of the floating solid. D is the density of the floating solid. So V gets cancelled, G also gets cancelled. Therefore, you get density of floating body denoted by D here, F into dl. Suppose at one temperature T1, let F1 denote the fraction of the volume of the solid immersed inside liquid. At another temperature T2, F2 denote the fraction of the volume of solid immersed inside liquid. So at temperature T1, density of solid at temperature T1 can be written as F1 into density of the liquid at temperature T1. Similarly, at temperature T2, density of solid at temperature T2 can be written as Ft into density of solid liquid at temperature T2. F2 represents the fraction of the volume of solid immersed below the surface of liquid. So if you divide one by the other, so d1 by d2 for solid can be written as F1 by F2 into d1 by d2 for the liquid. As I discussed here, d1 you can write d2 into 1 plus gamma into T2 minus T1. So in general, so d1 by d2 in general can be written as 1 plus gamma into T2 minus T1. So d1 by d2 for solid, you can write 1 plus gamma for solid into T2 minus T1. That is equal to F1 by F2 into d1 by d2 for liquid, you can write 1 plus gamma for liquid into T2 minus T1. So from this, you can find the ratio F1 by F2 or F2 by F1. Therefore, F2 you can write F2 by F1. 1 plus gamma for liquid into T2 minus T1 by 1 plus gamma for solid into T2 minus T1. Need not write running notes now. I will show you the notes in a systematic way in my next class. So, In most cases, gamma for liquid will be much higher than the gamma for solid, because liquids usually expand more compared to solids for same original volume. Therefore, F2 will be greater than F1 if T2 is greater than T1. That means as the temperature of the liquid is increased, the fraction of the volume of the body immersed inside liquid also increases. So you can make an approximation also there. If you multiply both numerator and denominator with or you can write 1 plus gamma L into T2 minus T1. You can multiply, or you can write this way, multiplied by 1 plus gamma for solid into T2 minus T1, power minus 1. This part. So you can write here F2 by F1, as I told you, 1 plus gamma for liquid into T2 minus T1 by 1 plus gamma for solid into T2 minus T1. So you can use the binomial approximation here, or you can multiply numerator and denominator with 1 minus gamma for solid into T2 minus T1. So in the denominator, so you get here F2 by F1 equal to, simplify this multiplying numerator here, 1 plus gamma L into T2 minus T1 minus gamma for solid into T2 minus T1 minus gamma for liquid into gamma for solid into T2 minus T1 whole square. The denominator you can write 1 square minus gamma for solid square in T2 minus T1. So product gamma into solid in T2 minus T1 in practice will be much less than 1. And product of the two gamma for liquid and gamma for solid will also be very small compared to the other terms. So this term can be neglected in the numerator, this term can be neglected in the denominator. Therefore, F2 by F1 or F2 will be approximately equal to F1 into 1 plus gamma for liquid minus gamma for solid into T2 minus T1. So in case you are given a numerical problem based on this discussion, you can directly use the conclusion. So I will continue my discussion in my next class.